Breaking news into CBS Sports HQ, where Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are both getting paid. The Bengals agreeing to contract extensions with their two star wide receivers. Chase's deal is for 4 years, $161 million, which will make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Higgins staying put as wide receiver number 2. It's 4 years, $115 for T. The two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden here to talk about two deals done in concert with one another. Not often you see this, a wide receiver room negotiating together to stay together and both getting 9 figures of money committed. We'll get into the guarantees here in a moment. Effective, $112 guaranteed to Jamar, a 3-year deal. T getting the first 2 of his guaranteed. However you add it up, it's a whole lot of money for one position group. What'd you make of the news?
Well, Joe Burrow, he stressed the importance in getting these two guys signed. It was a very, very important factor for him as an individual, and clearly he made it known to the organization. And guess what the organization did, Joe? We wanted to make sure we kept a smile on our franchise quarterback's face. So we found a way to move some money around, to navigate, to get these deals done in a timely fashion. So Joe Burrow, he's elated. The same can be said for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And what this tells me for this team, Cincinnati, once again, they're putting all their marbles in the middle of the table on offense. Offense, offense, offense. They were outstanding a year ago. And don't forget, Joe, T. Higgins missed a lot of time last year. But it paved the way for Jamar Chase to have a record-breaking year. And now you're able to get these guys back in uniform once again for a full season. When you talk about the chemistry they already have in place, it's all about offense. So I can tell you this much. That play 60 arm for Joe Burrow, it better be warmed up week in and week out, because they probably will have to do similar like things from what we saw in 2024, not knowing the status of their defense. Because remember, their defense wasn't good at all a year ago. And they had the NFL sack leader on their side. And that did not help in terms of overall success. So not knowing the status of Trey Hendrickson moving forward, especially with these new deals being handed out to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, it's all about offense, offense, offense. Fantasy owners, you might want to draft every one of these players if you get an opportunity to, because they're going to put up points.
Yeah, you said week in and week out, and that week in and week out better start week 1. That's been the issue lately for these Bengals, is getting out of the gates successfully. I'd like to just take a moment here and applaud the humility. Hard to say it when you're looking at 4 years, $115 million, but T. Higgins, like many star wide receivers, could have said, I want to go elsewhere. I want to be paid the top dollar there, and I want to be a bona fide wide receiver 1. Try his hand at that. He sees fit to stay put in Cincinnati after they did tag him, remove that tag, give him the extension. But to your point, Mac, offense was not the problem side of the ball for the Cincinnati Bengals. You now have a star edge rusher who, as you said, led the league in sacks, likely to jettison elsewhere. You're just not going to have the money for him. Your other edge just announced his retirement. What do you do defensively other than hope you hit home runs in the draft?
You got to find a way to go bargain shop and shop at a cheap rate to go get the players you need to try to improve your defense, because you're spending so much money on the offensive side. You just talked about the 2 deals we just saw. I mean, you talk about $200 million in 2 players in terms of their average year salary. I mean, you're looking at north of $68 million between 2 players. So now defensively, you got to hit on the draft. The draft is super important, but whatever free agents are still available, you got to go get them at a bargain to try to improve your team. And like I said, you had the NFL sack leader on your team, and you have nothing to show for it because your defense was not good. Sam Hubbard, no longer there. You already told Trey, look out and try to find a trade suitor for your services. So you're telling him he can go ahead and move elsewhere. So I don't know what to expect from their defense, but clearly it's all about offense, as I stated, because they feel like they have the offense that can maybe help keep their defense afloat based on the stars they have moving forward.
All right, maybe most importantly, who pays for dinner? The new money, the big money, the guy who got him the money? Who pays for dinner?
You know, the quarterback. It's only right that Joe pays for dinner, right? Yeah, because quarterback money is different. The longevity, everything is different. So for Joe Burrow, I think it's safe for Joe to pay for dinner because he is the quarterback, and having these 2 guys back in the huddle actually will help him get more money faster.
All is right in the world. Bryant McFadden, they stayed together in Cincinnati. We appreciate you stopping by here for your thoughts on both T and Jamar getting broken off. All right, here's a look at the highest average annual values non-QB, as Jamar Chase, the front office said, we're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league. They do that by some $300,000 annually, surpassing Myles Garrett and most notably his old running mate, Justin Jefferson. More reaction rolling in here on HQ, Cincinnati's own. Up next, John Breech. It comes from the heart when we're talking Bengals. We'll see if the heart matches the mind next. Continuing to track this news in a CBS Sports HQ, where Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have both agreed to extensions with the Cincinnati Bengals. This comes according to multiple reports. Chase's deal, 4 years, $161, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Higgins, the highest paid wide receiver 2 in NFL history at 4 years, $115. CBS Sports NFL analyst John Breech joining us with the Bengal helmet, just peeking over the shoulder there. Breech, it's great to see you, and it's always great to see you with a smile. I will not feign capologist, but when you look at the numbers, they're gaudy. They jump off the page at you, and you've already paid the quarterback, so the band's getting back together. How do you feel about this news when you see those numbers?
Look, these are absolutely huge numbers. There is no denying that. The Bengals are now tying $124 million per year to their starting quarterback and his 2 favorite receivers. So yes, those numbers are big, but you know what, Joe? The salary cap is big. As we've seen, that thing just keeps going up every year, and that's why it's so important to get your key players under contract and get those extensions done as soon as possible. You look at this Jamar Chase deal, the Bengals possibly could have got it done last offseason for $35 million per year. Now that is under the rug. You can't even worry about that now because he's getting the $40.25 million per year, topping Myles Garrett. I think the important thing here, it doesn't matter how big the numbers are, because the Bengals can put this drama behind them. This is all anyone has talked about since the Bengals season ended. Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl and took the front office and put their feet to the fire by basically challenging them at every media appearance he made, saying, we got to get these guys under contract. And you don't want to make your $55 million per year superstar quarterback unhappy by not doing that. So there are going to be a lot of happy people in Cincinnati despite these huge numbers. The Bengals don't really throw around this money usually, but they're doing it now. So maybe Joe Burrow got this front office to turn over a new leaf, Joe. Especially when that star quarterback has an out just a couple seasons away now, aligned with his star wide receivers. And it begs the question, John. I'm mulling over it in my head here because the refrain that I can't help but hear is nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing's changing here offensively, and that's a good thing. A whole lot's changing on the defensive side of the ball. So what is the aspect of the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals that will change the outcome? Well, I think, look, if you're a Bengals fan, you see these huge contracts, that is great. But the bottom line is you can't run back the same team you had in 2024 because that team went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. So the Bengals absolutely still have some holes on their roster. They need to get some guards in there to protect Joe Burrow. You still have to figure out what's going on with Trey Hendrickson. You need a defensive tackle. You really need to kind of just fix the defense overall. But you do have a new defensive coordinator in Al Golden, so he can kind of mold that defense into what he wants. And I think the important thing here is that as big as the T. Higgins numbers are, as big as the Jamar Chase numbers are going to be, you look at what their salary cap hit is going to be in 2025, and we don't have that exact number yet, but we do know it is going to go down from what it was. Higgins on that franchise tag was $26.2 million. That first year cap number is going to go down. Jamar Chase was over $21 million because he was playing on that 5th-year option in his rookie contract. That number is going to go down. So for all intents and purposes, the Bengals are going to have more salary cap space for the 2025 season. So that means you go out and now you can go into wave 2 of free agency and find a guard, find a defensive tackle, find these guys you need. And it gives you a little bit of room. Maybe you start talking to Trey Hendrickson again and get that guy in there. Because let's not forget, Joe Burrow mentioned 4 names at the Super Bowl: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Trey Hendrickson. Well, 3 of those 4 are now under contract in Cincinnati, and Hendrickson's the only guy out. So what Burrow wants, Burrow's gotten so far. I would not be shocked if he goes 4 for 4 with his wish list. 22 required to play the game, 50 some required to field the team. We'll see how it all adds up, but
The money's adding up. You get a signing bonus. You get a signing bonus. We're gonna see how they massage the money, but a smile on the
They're
face
handing
of
out
John
pots
Breech.
of gold on St. Patrick's Day, Joe.
That's something I'll always sign up for. Thank you, John. So how do you mint a 9-figure deal in 2025? Emojis, of course. Chase and Higgins taking an X. Handshake, deal done.